All right, I'm gonna do a quick video to say. So there's rumors that I was adopted. I've never said I was adopted. I've continuously said throughout my entire life when people say, because I look so different to my mother's side of the family, I'm like, of course I do, because I look like my dad's father, Stanley Fleming. Stanley Fleming was an orphan, so I never bring up the words adopted. And here's the thing. So there's information that my mum may or may not know, or my dad's side may or not know. But when it comes to me, myself, I only just confirm this because I've just gone off the phone to my mother, is that I was closest to my grandparents. And actually, I wasn't closest to my dad's mother, I'll say that. It was my dad's sister Sharon's children, but I was closest to Lola. So Lola May Purdy, Reginald George Purdy, my mum's parents. My mum's grandmother, which was Maisie or Mary. Marianne Keegan is her married name, and Sayer is her maiden name. So she was a Sayer. And closest to Uncle Fred, which his real name is, so that's Big Nan's brother, so Mary's brother, which is Leo Patrick Sayer. So I know more to do with that, even I've just realised tonight. So, look, it's not saying that mum, didn't listen. It just shows that because one thing that mum said, oh yeah, I remember when his camera was confiscated for taking photos of the Navy ships down in Rose Bay. And I'm like, actually it was the seaplanes. So she doesn't listen, but I used to spend every Tuesday with Uncle Fred. When I knew my great uncle, he wasn't living in the eastern suburbs, which is where part of my nan's family's from. He was living in Leichhardt, which is the house that he brought. And his sister rented off him and she raised her family, including my grandmother, in the house. My Nana Lola always said she was 6 years old when she moved out of the house because she only ever did first year or something in Wellington, New South Wales, where she was born, and then they moved because she said she was there going to primary school. Anyway, besides the point. When it comes to my dad's side of the family, he's the one who looks, so I've had Italians look at photos of Stanley Fleming and say, oh, he looks Italian. I've had people say he looks Maltese. Look, what we've done is sat back in our family, including Meredith. So Meredith Williams is my dad's sister, Sharon Fleming. Sharon Fleming, her married name's Williams. So Sharon Williams, nee Fleming. Meredith's her daughter. So I even sat with her, and because she has dark olive skin, like Stanley did. So my grandfather Stanley he's dark skinned. My mum's side may or may not know this, but that's besides the point. The point is the fact that Stanley Fleming had dark olive skin, thick black curly hair, one eyebrow. He looked the most European person you ever met in your entire life. Besides what we sat back and say in the family, okay? Besides the point, the fact that Meredith Williams sits back like she's a McGregor now. So Meredith, her husband's Brendan McGregor. They're down in Shell Harbour. So besides what we sit back and say, oh well, he looks ethnic. He could have been Italian, could have been Maltese, could have been Greek, could have been Lebanese. Who knows? What I know from his brother-in-law, which is my dad's Uncle George Hill, which is Ruby Jean Hill, or Fleming is her married name. She's married to my grandfather Stanley Fleming. What I know firsthand from the ones that grew up around my nan. So Ruby's born in Five Dock. She's raised in Drummoyne, Abbotsford. That's where my dad's mother's from. My dad's father is raised in Botany Bay. But for factual evidence, the Australian documents have all right through the Australian documents said that there is no country of birth and there's no place of birth for Stanley Fleming. He was raised by Edith Kavanagh in Botany Bay. That's who he was raised by. Now, George came and stayed with me in Surrey Hills when I was living on Cleveland Street, Surrey Hills. And I said to Uncle George, okay, I know the facts are the fact that Pop was an orphan with the name Stanley Fleming. I know this is facts, okay? I know that there's no country of birth, no place of birth. But where do you think? He said, well, I'll tell you now. So he grew up, he was closest to his sister Ruby because Uncle George is gay. He was closest to my grandfather Stanley. When my grandfather Stanley was dying, he actually rang George and his partner, Uncle John. So George Hill, and I can't think of what John's surname is. And he said, will you move from they were living in Leichhardt at the time, to the Central Coast because I'm dying and I need somebody here to be with Ruby. So Ruby's brother did. Uncle George lives up the road in Bangalow Street. I think my grandparents' house in Long Beach was 23 Bengala Street in Long Beach, from memory. Anyway, Uncle George, he lived up the road from there. So Uncle George said to me, he said, I'll tell you now, he said, I knew him. Like, as soon as my sister started dating him, I was very close to Stanley. We were very close. He never had a problem with me being homosexual. And he said, so knowing Edith, which he did, and he said, knowing all the boys that she took in. Edith was a spinster, never married. She took in boys, ethnic boys from the boats. So there was a lot of orphan ethnics that came to Australia, especially after the First World War. And he said what he knows is that she took, he said, you have to get the documents from the Edith Kavanagh. You have to get, well, not her, she's dead, but her family members, if they have kept the records. So you'd have to find the documents, because I'm sure she would have kept records of the boys that she took in and raised. Okay, she used to teach them the fine arts. She taught my grandfather Stanley Fleming how to play the piano, although he was cheeky, he used to read comic books. So this is the truth. Now, anybody who's ever met me in my life, I've told this too, because it's the truth. Why does Justin look so different to his mother and his mother's family and his sisters? Because Justin looks like Stanley Fleming. And that's a fact. I do look like the Flemings. There's a look that the Flemings have, and it's ethnic. And that's why. So I've never said I'm adopted. So I've had people make up stories and say, but Justin said he was adopted or his father was adopted. I'm like, I've never said anything about adopted. I said my pop, Stanley Fleming, my dad's father, is an orphan. So don't twist my words, which is what's going on now for some time, 20 years. I've had people look at this photo, which is my grandparents. And people think that this was an Italian's grandparents. Because that's Stanley Fleming, that's Ruby Fleming. So I literally had people look at this and they go, that's not Justin's grandfather, he's Italian. That's what's happened. I'm like, but that's what the truth. That is my dad's father, Stanley Fleming, and yeah, that's who I look like. I don't look like my mother's side. Stanley Fleming is the one that looks Italian. And so here we are. Belinda Jeffries is another good one with that. What I'm saying is the truth. Even the French side. There's Stanley Fleming there. That's at Long Beach. That is Stanley Fleming, my pop. Behind him there, that is Sandra, my dad's older sister. And my dad, that's dad at the front. Yeah. Mark Ian Fleming. So what I've said is the truth, and it gets twisted. It gets twisted because my mum doesn't know things and she mouths off, not saying anything negative, but she doesn't know anything to do with my dad's side. So this, including other photos. Now, my mum would not be able to pinpoint photos of my dad's father out at all. She would barely recognise them. They've been divorced since the 80s. My dad has, but she would know my dad. I'm sure she could pinpoint my dad in photos. Maybe not. She's old, but I don't know. But besides the point. Here's me saying the truth about my family heritage and history. Oh, and by the way, my mum's mother, Lola, her great-grandmother is French. And that is the facts. Where's the document? No one brought it up when my grandfather, Reg, was alive. But I can... and look, besides the simple fact is that, and like all arguments aside, I don't care. I don't care what nationality she was. It came from Nan, it came from Pop. The information. It came from Big Name, it came from Uncle Fred. But they always talked about Bridget being French, and that's why Lola's name was Lola. Which makes sense. Anyway, besides the point. Okay, Bridget's name is Bridget Dufresne, and her husband is Matthew Joseph Ryan. So my nana Lola's great-grandparents is Bridget Dufresne and Matthew Ryan. So besides the point, if you want to argue where she came from, Nan always said she was French. That's why she got the name Lola. Reginald George Purdy, my nan's husband, my mum's father, always said that your nana's great-grandmother was French. That's why, your nan's grandmother, Julia, she's French and Irish, is what also was said. And I brought this up in 2017, and Mum argued back, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Because Julia's mother is French, and Julia's father is Irish. So you can't just say Irish and then ignore the mother being French. Yeah, her father's Matthew Ryan, but her mother's Bridget Dufresne. That makes her French and Irish. You can't just say it's one and not the other. Like then you could just turn around and say, oh, well, Julia's French. And then forget about the Irish side. It doesn't make sense. So that's true. So Julia, her parents were French and Irish. Okay, Julia's daughter is my great grandmother. So Mary. Okay, Mary's husband. So Mary, then Julia's husband was English, and then her daughter Mary, my great grandmother, would have then French, Irish, and English. So that's how it works. Yeah. And that's on mum's side. But dad's father's the one that looks like... I've had idiots who don't know me at all, don't know my mum. Right? So I'm not going to trust anyone after the last 9 years, not even my mother. I spoke to her, that's not here or there, but I won't trust her again. Because every statement I made is the truth, and it's gone a bit too... Like, I'll talk to her on the phone, but I won't trust her again. Because the trust is gone. Because there's a statement... Everything I've said is the truth, and one thing with me... I've barely drunk alcohol in my entire life. So I barely drunk alcohol, don't have issues with that. So where other people that drink alcohol, I'm like, man, you lose memory like you wouldn't believe. I never been a drug user. I'm so anti-cannabis. I don't like anything where I will be not in charge. Which is why when I go out, I drink tonic water with a dash of lime and tell people I'm drinking vodka and tonic. That keeps me sober and I can watch everybody else. And I've always been the same. I'll have occasionally, if I'm going to have anything, I'll have an aperitif. So I might have a nice aperitif, one martini, and that's it. But I've never been any different. It keeps me alert and I can watch other people's behaviour. And I've never been any different since a child. So, never drunk alcohol as a child, but I mean, never been any different to look at situations and be very observant to people. And to what people are lying about or scamming and scheming. So with myself, I was very close to a lot of my family members. Now, as I was talking about Ruby Jean, my dad's mother. Now, even after she remarried, so she did remarry, she had another husband when she was in her 60s or 70s, but then I had no children. So Ruby is Fleming, but I don't really know, her husband Keith or something anyway. It was a toy boy. He was 10 years younger than her. So, there you go. But look, I used to still go and visit Nan all the time, even when other cousins didn't. Because after my Nan remarried, my father disowned her. My father's sister, Sandra, disowned her. Sandra's children disowned her. And I used to turn up still. And my Nana Ruby used to always say, you and Amanda are my birthday present. You're born the day before my birthday. She was a sweetheart. My Nana Lola adored my dad, Mark Ian Fleming's mother, Ruby, and Ruby adored Lola. And if I was at Nan and Pop's in Blacktown, Nan would be like, why don't you go up to the coast and see your Nan? So I used to ring Dad. I'm like, I'm coming up. I'll be up there, tomorrow night. He goes, why don't you come up during the day? You always come up overnight. Well, I actually was up in the daytime. What I used to do was I used to drive up early, spend lunch with Ruby, spend all afternoon with Ruby, talking about Pop Stanley. So I remember Pop Stanley really well. And then go to Dad's in the afternoon. But I never told Dad I went to his mum's. Because Dad's mum was down the road from him and Dad never saw his mother the day she died. So, and that's the truth. So my ethnic look, everything I've said is the truth. And every single person, group and organisation that got information from my mother Carol, my ex-partner Gio, a family member, and didn't get it from myself, then you're liable for damages. So I'm not going to trust my mother again. And that's just learnt to not trust her for my entire life because she's been untrustworthy. I'll talk to her, but she's not trustworthy. And that's it. So all the organisations that got it, what I've said is the truth. Hey, look, mum's descendants, easy. You go Bridget Dufresne, French, Matthew Ryan, Irish. Julia's husband is English, which was George Gurley Sayer, is English. Then you've got their daughter, which is Mary. Mary's husband, which is Arthur Keegan, was Irish. Then you've got Lola, my grandmother. Lola's husband, Reginald George Purdy, was English. Then you've got my mother. There is the nationalities from my mother's side. It's not that difficult when you've got English, French, and Irish on my mother's side of the family. So that's it going right back to my great-great-grandmother. You've got French, Irish, English. My dad's side, it's not that difficult either. Although, Frank Edward Hill looks German, and there's a lot on my dad's side that look German, I'm going to say that. or Swedish or whatever. Yeah, they do. But again, my mother's side shouldn't be saying comments about my dad's side. If there's a photo of my cousin Fiona, and someone turns around on my mother's side and says, "That's not Fiona," well, can't Fiona talk for herself? Can't Fiona Woods, or sorry, that's her ex-husband's name. I don't know if she's gone back to her maiden name. Fiona Williams talk for herself. Fiona's mother's a Fleming, so she can speak for herself. If that's a photo of Fiona, Joan Hillier, Joan Hillier, which is my Fiona's sister. Joan can speak for herself. Mark Hillier, he can speak for himself, considering Mark Hillier's father's got Spanish in him. Jessica Pincham can speak for herself, considering her ex-partner before she got with the Brazilian, he's Islam, because they're big supporters of Islam on dad's side. So why can't my dad's side stand up? I don't need someone else. I don't know why my mother knocked Islam tonight, actually. I don't understand that. But my father's side are massive big supporters of Islam. And they are. So can't, Jessica can stand up and say, "Oh yeah, Haysam's her ex-partner. They're all accepting of Islam." Haysam. And then she was with Chris. I can't remember Chris's last name. Actually, I forgot Chris. You need to look it up, actually. So Chris is Liliana's father. Chris is Brazilian. So instead of asking my mother about things to do with my dad's side, well, I'm sure you can find Jessica Pincham and say, "So your daughter Liliana, her father's Brazilian?" Yeah, the father's Brazilian. Why would you ask Justin's mother's side of the family about that? Why would they know? It's the same thing. You wouldn't ask Uncle Tony Pincham, whose cousins are Italian. You wouldn't ask him if Carol's sister Marianne, is her husband Polish? Well, how the fuck would he know? And that's what I've been saying for years. You're asking the wrong questions to the wrong people. You don't believe me, which is insane. But that's the thing. If you look at my family, they're a massive big mix of multinational family. So let me just see if I've got Chris's details here. Because I was going to actually, when all this shit was going, I actually was going to contact Chris. Whoops. What the heck? And actually, oh, Christ. Where are we? Chris. And actually ask him to stand up because I couldn't get through to my cousin Jessica. Chris. And that's the other thing. So whatever, and I won't trust my mother because she's never shown to be trustworthy in my lifetime. I'll talk to her, but I won't ever trust her. There's always a ulterior motive throughout my life with my mother. I should be here. Chris, where are you? Oh, here we go. Christopher Pedro Lozano. That is my cousin's ex. So it's Christopher Pedro Lozano. That's my second cousin's father. So that's the Brazilian part of my dad's side of the family. So, yeah. So why don't you just go and ask that side of the family? Why do you actually go to my... I don't understand. It makes no sense with me when people keep asking my mother. I'm like, my parents are divorced in the 80s. Why do you speak to my mother about my father's side? Why don't you speak to me? My twin sister doesn't know her own father's side. And my father's side is... Oh, there he is, still doing clown work. He worked in a circus. What's he up to? I might give him a message. So, Christopher Pedro Lozano. That is my second cousin's father. That's my cousin, Jessica Pincham's ex-partner. I always liked Chris. I preferred Haysam. I don't know. I'm really upset that she didn't marry Haysam. Haysam was perfect for her. Anyway, she didn't. And then her sister, which is Christy Saruni. Christy Saruni is Auntie Linda and Uncle Tony's daughter. And her husband's Lebanese. So their children, which is Addison Saruni, Connor Saruni, Jaden Saruni, they're Lebanese. They're my second cousins through blood. So their mother's my cousin. So why, and that's the thing, that's why I don't trust my mother ever again. Because she lied in 2017 and she did. And there's always an ulterior motive. So we can chat, but you're just not going to trust them at all. Ever. All her friends, because her friends don't know my father's side of the family. So people have looked at me and made stories up in the last 9 years because they look at my mother's side. I'm like, that's funny. Why don't you look at Stanley Fleming? Here we go. Pop, Stanley Fleming, Justin Fleming. You see, we've got exactly the same features. Always did. Always did, unless my mother was trying to make me not look like a Fleming. And I'm going to tell you, this happened growing up. My mother went through such a weird time after my father divorced her. She used to use, and this is the truth, I'm not lying here. She used the horse's comb that has a razor blade in it that you use in the mane to thin out the hair. She did. She used to, she was always, make it like whatever. I even said to her, I'm like, who made up the story that my hair was dead straight? Hasn't been dead straight since I was a toddler. I grew up exactly like Sky Sheridan Fleming, my younger sister, and had very similar hair to her, but she had very similar hair to me as a toddler as well. Although Sky's is thick. She has the beautiful, thick Fleming hair, and she's lucky. Like my grandparents. My grandparents had thick hair. Unfortunately, I've got the thin hair from my mother's side, but the waviness from my dad's side. Both my grandparents have very thick hair. That's my grandparents. So my mother used to go for this phase of trying to make me not look like a Fleming. I don't know what emotional, mental health issues she was going through during that time, but she did. She used to try to make me not look like a Fleming. My DNA, my natural look, I'm going to look like a Fleming, my dad's side. And throughout my life, after my dad divorced her, she used to do some horrible things to my hair and cut it terribly and pull it back and thin it out and all sorts of weird things. There's photos of me, it was weird. So I wouldn't look like Stanley. She has issues with that. I'm not going to get into that. She's obviously old and whatever, but, issues. My grandfather had dark olive skin and looked European because that's obviously where he came from somewhere, or back to George Hill. George Hill reckons he was Arabic. But anyway. That's George Hill. The last name, the surname Fleming, okay? The surname Fleming is actually, and I spoke to a guy which was Rob Van Erden back in... And I'm not saying this to be nasty against my mother. Don't get me wrong. That's not nasty against her. I'm stating facts that have to be accepted. Okay? I'm stating facts that just have to be accepted. I don't think she ever dealt with the fact that my dad divorced her. Simple. Because she really did marry on the rebound. She didn't have much time from my dad separating before her second husband, Mark Rackley, came into her life. There wasn't much overlapping. But the facts are the fact. So, anyway, that's my grandparents. That is the Flemings. Okay? As for what I was saying about Rob Van Erden. Rob Van Erden lived up Cleveland Street, not far from me, in Surrey Hills. I met in 2006, and as soon as he saw the spelling of my last name, he said, where? Where is he from? Because it's from Eastern German. It was a Danish name. It's Belgium. It's a Belgium surname, and it's where Belgium meets France. Look it up. And he actually found me the documents on where the name come from. He goes, it's a two-part surname like mine. He goes, it was a two-part surname, but they dropped the first part of the surname. He goes, his name is Van Erden. Rob Van Erden. Okay? He's the one that told me the history of the name. I said, well, that doesn't really mean anything to me because we don't know where Stanley's parents. We don't know Stanley's parents. So that's nice. That's where the surname comes from. I'll use it as an art name. So I used Von Fleming as an art name. It was Rob Van Erden, U-D, was it Ian Erden? Oh, I've got to find it. I've got his details still. Robert Van Erden. He actually is one that found me the details on the spelling of the last name. I said, oh, well, my last name is Fleming. My dad's father's Fleming. My dad's a Fleming. But it all stops at Stanley. There's only 3 generations. Okay, Stanley Fleming, Mark Ann Fleming, Justin Fleming. And that's it. That's where it stops. So, I said, I'll use the Von Fleming as a design and art name. He said, well, his name, he said, I'm telling you, that's where your surname originated from. And I said, well, that's just the surname. Doesn't say my family has, but the surname did. Okay. So his name, like I said, Rob Van, V-A-N. He said, your name is Von, V-O-N. He said, and I said, what does that mean? He said, it means from, like basically it's from. He said, you're from. So he said, you're from the Flanders area. He said, that's where, he said, if your grandfather Stanley is from those parts of Europe, he said, that's where he'll be from. He said, so if you're ever going to track his details or find him, he said, it's going to be from the Flanders area. It's Flemish. He said, so that's where if you are related to Fleming, you don't know anything past Stanley, then you are from you're from the Flemish area, you're from the Flanders area, where Belgium meets France. So that's where it will be. So no, and that's it, and that's the only thing I've ever said. So all this is facts, and it is. Now, put the pin in that and go into something else. When I'm playing a prank on idiots, so I've never been violent in my life. So I'm playing a prank on Belinda Jeffries because she was a druggo. Oh, I do this to people that use drugs. Because idiots think I'm like-minded. I'm so anti-drugs and so. Okay, here's the thing. I'm anti people that smoke cigarettes all the time and vape. But you will see me occasionally smoke a cigarette or a pipe tobacco or a beautiful, and they're like, but you're anti. I'm like, I'm anti-habits. It's different. Because you people destroy the beautiful romantic tie on things. The same as I'm anti-alcoholics. Do you understand? There's a difference. So, if I want to go to a beautiful cigar lounge right now, have an aperitif, have a cognac, and a piped tobacco, that's something that may have been grown, like in a type of barrel that's got a chocolatey aroma, and I'm sitting back in this beautiful atmosphere, okay? Where can I go in Sydney? I can't. There's no Merchant Cigar Lounge. There's no The Rex Cigar Lounge. There's nothing. Do you know why? Because people with addictions and habits destroyed that. You've destroyed it. So I'm very anti people that have addictions. So it doesn't matter what it is. If your addictions to alcohol, addiction to anything, you've destroyed the beautifulness of a product. And you've ruined it for everybody else in the world. That's what I don't like. Okay, so it's like I can't stand alcoholics. It doesn't mean I can't stand people that drink alcohol. There's a massive difference. Do you understand the difference? So I really can't stand people that destroy things for everybody else. So I like the fact that if I want to sit down in a cigar lounge and have a beautiful cognac and an Arabic tobacco, a piped tobacco, like maybe a rosewood pipe with maybe a sort of like a bit of a musky, sort of almost a log cabin tobacco in that. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to pair that with, because that's a very strong aroma, so you want something to be like more of a berry wine or a wine-based cognac. There you go. Would pair nicely with that. So here you have a rosewood. So it depends on what wood the pipe is as well to the flavour of the tobacco, because of how you burn it in. So here you have a beautiful tobacco. I'll bring up log cabinets. It is a nice one. That used to be really smooth. I don't know if it ever exists anymore. But it has a very log cabinets isn't all. They're a very earthy sort of flavour. So you need something to complement it. So you want that bit of fruitiness, sweetness with a wine-based cognac more than a Scotch-based cognac. Because you don't want harsh and harsh. And you'll have that in the rosewood more than the walnut. Okay, so you've got your walnut pipes and your rosewood pipes. Their flavours taste different. Now, people that are addicted to tobacco and cigarette smoking have destroyed this. So I can't go to a cigar lounge anywhere. Where are they? You destroyed it. You've destroyed this. You destroy this for normal people. So you have an issue with drugs and alcohol, and you've destroyed it for everybody else. Thank you. This is why we had prohibition. You people destroy it for people who don't have problems. And I watched this with my mum's second husband's family. So you're destroying the world because you're the ones with the issue. You should be isolated. You're the one with the issue. You should be isolated and the rest of the world can live in peace. So when I met Belinda Jeffries and I found out she was a cocaine addict and a cocaine addict, alcoholic, and a cannabis smoker, did I play some pranks? I do this to everybody as soon as I find out what type. I am anti-cannabis. There we go. I'll say this. Okay, that is one thing. There is no okay with that because that's a psychedelic drug. So I'm extremely anti-cannabis, and I am extremely anti the fact that America has decriminalized it. I think they've really made a massive big mistake here. There is no proof that it helps for medication at all. There's no proof. This is just what the people that smoke cannabis on the left want you to believe. I am and have always been extremely anti-cannabis. There is no proof that it helps with pain. There's no proof that it helps with anything. It's a psychedelic drug that should never be legalized, should never be decriminalized, and it should be classified as a psychedelic drug. The difference between cannabis and cocaine was actually a pain medication. Cocaine was, how good is my history? Cocaine was legal for you to get as a pain medication over the counter until 1930s. You have to check this with facts. This is in Sydney, in New South Wales, in Australia. I think it was 1930s. It wasn't. And then it was right up into 1970. Oh, God, I can't grab the exact dates. But it was right up into the 1970s before. So then after the 1930s, you could have a prescription for cocaine. And it wasn't a criminal drug until the 1970s. Okay, thereabouts. So it's roughly, I have to look through my history records. Yeah, I love history. Before the 1930s, you could buy it over the counter. After the 1930s, you had to have a prescription for it. It was used in dentistry and so forth. It was always a medicine, okay? And in its purest form so it's not a psychedelic. So the difference between something like cocaine is a pain medication. Cocaine's not a psychedelic. Cannabis is a psychedelic. Cannabis should never, ever, ever be legalized. It should stay strict laws against cannabis. It should be made extremely criminal. That's like any psychedelics. It's criminal. Okay, whether it's anything that is a trippy drug should be made illegal and stay this way. Something that's a pain medication drug is different. You still got morphine. You still have morphine. So there's a difference there. So I'm extremely anti-cannabis, and I would never be anything other than anti-cannabis. So as soon as I find out people smoke cannabis, I'm extremely on edge already. Because whether you can say it was because of my stepfather, my stepbrother, or my stepside family, because they're massive big in cannabis or not, or the fact that apparently, I don't know why, maybe it's the light in my eyes there, but apparently I look like I'm a cannabis smoker. I don't know why. But maybe that's the lactic levels in my blood. I'm not. I don't know where this started. So my stepbrother was. So was Shane Charles, my mum's nephew. I'm so anti it, you wouldn't believe. Oh yeah, you smoke. Oh yeah. I'm like, Australian Crime Stoppers. This house smokes cannabis. Hey, I rang the police when I on my stepfather to do with cannabis. So yeah, I'm extremely anti-cannabis and always have been. That's just, there is no leeway with cannabis with me. So there is no room for, there's like, what if it's THC and CBD? I'm like, no, there is no leeway. That is one thing I'm set on and I won't ever change. That should be the most highly criminal drug you can get, more than cocaine. Cocaine's a pain medication. Cannabis is a psychedelic. I am so anti-psychedelic. And maybe that might be my control freak nature where I have to be in control. Which is why I don't even drink alcohol so if I go out, like I said, I will put lime in tonic water and tell people I'm drinking vodka. I do drink vodka, but I can only handle 1 or 2 vodkas and that's it if I'm drunk, and I don't want to be drunk when I'm out watching people, watching their behaviour, seeing what they're going to tell me. So I did, mate, so here's this thing. So I said, that's right. So get back to Belinda Jeffries. As soon as I found out what she gets up to, I'm like, see, entrapment works really well. Oh, yeah, at high school. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, at high school. We had this long urinal and we used to, like you say, you could all, anyone seen, is it not the Power One? No, the movie with, the South African movie. I was taking off that guy where he got bashed and pissed on in the urinal. So I actually took a monologue off another movie and repeated it and said I did it, just to catch him out. So I'm like, to bash up people in the urinal at school and throw them in a urinal and piss all over them. It was the movie. I repeated a line from the movie, and I was doing it to catch a criminal out. There's a good line for me, to catch a criminal out. I'm so anti certain behaviour that just because I'll talk to you, and that's the thing. It's like what she does in her own life. She's not a friend of mine. She's my hairdresser. I pay you for a service. You cut my hair nicely, perfect. But if you want to start involving your life, and you're going to start getting me on your wrong side. If you can't tell that when we've had conversations, I'm like, can I have a coffee? Can I have a cup of tea? Like when I'm fluey, like I'm now allergies, that's the only time I drink tea. I'm a coffee drinker. I only drink tea when I'm fluey or sick. It goes well with when you're fluey and need to be hydrated. But so I'll be sitting there and you're pouring another vodka. I'm like, can I have a coffee? And you're there trying to have, I'm watching you and you're getting cannabis out, and I'm like, and I'm rolling my rolling cigarette with just normal tobacco, and you're there and I'm there going, oh, yeah, I got drug tested every time after I left your place. I don't smoke cannabis. I won't inhale cannabis. No way. I'm so anti-cannabis like you wouldn't believe. And I've never been any different. There is no way in hell I would ever breathe in cannabis as a psychedelic drug. And I'm so anti-psychedelic drugs. So the difference, like I look at back in history, like I said, okay, fine, cocaine's a massive, huge criminal drug, but it was a painkiller and it was legalized. But cannabis has never been legalized. There's a difference. Cannabis is a psychedelic drug that has never been legalized. Okay? Cocaine was a legal drug that you could buy. It's a prescription medication. Then it became criminal because of misuse of it. There's a difference. I'm not sticking up for one or the other, but I am saying the fact that, one of them is just a pain medication like morphine. One of them is a pain medication like morphine, the other one's a psychedelic. What should be legal? A psychedelic? I don't think so. A pain medication is different. So look, I'm really extremely anti. So anyway, so I was being a smart ass. So no, that's true. Oh my God, I never bashed anyone up at school. I never was violent. Oh my God, never hit someone, never got into a fight. But I did play a prank and joke around a lot to people that don't know me and don't know how I was. Oh yeah, oh I bet you were a real rebel at school. Oh yeah, I used to sell cannabis at school. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Oh my God, rebel. Oh, please, I was involved in art and drama and painting the town mural, the town library mural, downtown interior decoration, involved in musicals. Me, the most thing I got in was my little art group every Wednesday afternoon having coffee in the coffee bean. Yeah, no. So, yeah, never been a violent person ever in my entire life. But joke around and say I was violent. Yeah, if I'm trying to catch someone out. Oh yeah, you should have seen you. Bullshit. As if. So no, I've never had a problem with violence in my life. But, if I'm trying to be a smart ass, and I look at the people I'm being smart ass too, I'm looking at them going, well, you're a criminal. So if I'm just bluffing you, and I'm looking at you going, yeah, but you're a criminal. Like, seriously, didn't I just watch you buy a shitload of cocaine and distribute it along? And I'm sitting there going, oh my fucking God, I can't believe I'm looking at this. Seriously, like Leah going, oh yeah, oh my God, and I'm under monitoring and surveillance at the moment as well. This is what I was legit kid you not. So anyway, yeah. So best way to get any information corrected, why don't you just ask me? Like, you're still playing games? Oh, it's fucking immigration. God, they play games, don't they? Oh my God. Seriously, if you're going to play games with me, I'm going to play games back. That's how I am. I'm so much, that's, okay, I may look like Stanley Fleming. I may have the arrogance of Stanley Fleming, the stubborn, pig-headed and rude of Stanley Fleming, but I have the larrikin, smart-ass, joking behaviour of my mum's father, Reginald Purdy, and I do. It's like, seriously, you ask me a stupid, here's a great one, you ask me a stupid question, Mark Henner. So, Juz, why are you moving to America? Now, I already answered that correctly once. Well, what do you mean why I'm moving to America? I have a green card to the US. I've held a green card since 2014. I went through the process. It took me 2 years. I was looking at this back even when I was in America in January and February 2001. It was always my, like, I wanted to move to America. It was me that went for the, New York Yankees. Growing up, I'm wearing my New York Yankees cap. It was me that was involved more in America than Amanda. Amanda was always going to move to the UK. I was moving to America. Then Amanda moved to America, and I was like, fantastic. My sister's moving to America. That's brilliant. That's a stepping stone for me. It was me that was going to move. Amanda changed from the UK and was going to the US. I'm like, brilliant. Stay. Get a green card, Amanda. What are you doing? She didn't. So I'm traveling around America in January and February 2001. I'm like, I'm going to get a green card. Like, I'm working in the casino industry. I've done art work. My studies in TAFE College was art. My studies in TAFE College was design. So 1996, 1997. Look at New York. Look at other areas. I never looked at Chicago, but, look at areas that are so arty, design, flamboyant, mass, like, me. You've got the casino industries and so forth. I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm going to end up. I'm going to get a green card. So I already said this once. Now, I've answered you truthfully once. I'm not going to repeat myself again. The same in America when they go, so what brought you here? Well, I've already told you why I'm in America. But you keep asking the same question over and over again, so I'm going to be a smart ass now we're back. So it's like, so what brought you to America? I'm like, well, 2 planes and a car. What brought you here? You ask a stupid question, you fucking imbecile, then you're gonna get a stupid fucking answer. Like, are you that stupid? I'm gonna play a game back. If you play me, believe me, I'm 10 steps ahead. I've already played you back before you started playing me, you dickhead. So then Mark Hanna asked me again, what are you, oh, Jazz, why are you moving to America? I'm gonna join the military. Then what was it? I've got no friends in Australia. All my friends are in America. No, they're not. That was another thing, because he asked me again. So just why are you moving to America? Oh, because I've got a good friend. No, I don't. He's not a good friend. I just know something on social media. And we're going to adopt all the orphan children in the world. It's just being a smart ass. That wasn't true either. Of course, you can tell that. I'm like, why do you keep asking? I'm giving you a different answer each time because you keep asking the same stupid question. You keep asking a stupid question, I'm going to give you another stupid answer. He asked again. I'm like, I'm going to Disneyland. You asked. You kept asking a stupid question. The more you ask stupid questions with me, the more you get a bizarre, stupid answer. That's how I am. If you want me to treat you with respect, then you have to give me respect first. Otherwise, I'm going to treat you like the imbecile idiot that you are. Like when people walked up to my dog and was like, oh, the baby. I'm like, yeah, oh, my dog's the baby. Oh, he wanted a son. And God gave me a dog instead. You see? If you treat me with disrespect, you've got me offside straight away. If I can be someone and sit back and say, I talk to my mother, but I don't trust her, well, then you know that I've been disrespected and lied about and denied the truth and gaslighted throughout my entire life. So if I can be like that with an own family member, I'm not saying I was ever close to mum. I don't have an issue with mum because I was always close to her parents. And that's it. Don't have an issue with mum. I'll get along well with her with some things. But if you think that if I can be like that with my own family members, you're not related to me. And that's very much Reg's nature, my grandfather, Reginald George Purdy. You're not related to me, mate. So I don't have to give you any respect at all. If you come at me, I did it to Deb Mears. Absolutely fucking nailed it with Deb Mears. I did it with Michael Long. Absolutely nailed it with Michael Long. Michael Long obviously knew the Rackleys. Straight away he was talking about cannabis and alcoholism and so forth. I'm like, great. Get me that Ribena. I knew props from being in, like, when I was doing active film and television in the past. I'm there on the balcony pretending to have a breakdown, crying, drinking Ribena out of a red wine glass. Instantly, I'm going to fuck you up. That's exactly what my grandfather Reg would do. Instantly, I'm 10 steps ahead of you dickheads. And you better believe it that I've already covered my back before I started. I covered my back since 2013. So you better believe it that before I even start this little acting stunt, I've already covered my ass. And I've got something on you. So if I'm this cunning to go after some criminal, someone involved in certain behaviour, you better wake up and think, well, hang on a minute. He's obviously got something on us. Yeah, I do. That's why I do it. And, so yeah. And that's, yeah, look, Mum, I actually had a long chat with Mum tonight. And have to get up there. I'll have to get up there in February, but I can't handle the heat. Where my mum lives, where my mother moved to, I can't handle the heat in summer. I don't have a problem with my mum at all. We've always argued. Mum's like an older sister. I get upset when she starts. And it's like, oh, Christ, Mum, you're not respecting me. I know something you don't know, and I'm trying to tell you. But you don't want to listen. And it's almost like, oh, God, okay. It's her and her sister's traits. It's like, who went and saw Uncle Fred every Tuesday? I know. It's not here or there. I've got to learn to not argue the points, but with her. When she doesn't want to listen, it's like, okay, that's all right. It's all right. One day you'll come around. Maybe you're too tired to have a sleep. But she didn't do that tonight. We had a really great chat. But I hope she's doing right. I wish she would sell that bloody property. It's too big for her to manage. She's got a massive property there, and it's in a beautiful area. But she really should, now at her age, should be selling it and downsizing to something like on 5 acres. 5 acres is enough to have around a big homestead. She has a massive property. Honestly, I'm 46 next year and I'm looking at it going, Jesus Christ, that is a lot of land, even for without hiring people to look after it. You've got to have the money to be able to hire people to look after you. You've got the fences, you've got the grounds, you've got, it's a lot. You've got to keep the upkeep, you've got to keep the spray in. You're going to spray all year round for because it's land, but you're going to have to spray for, or pesticides. You're going to spray for, the thistles. There's a milk thistle. You can't get that on the horse's legs. There's all sorts of things you're going to spray for. And that's all expensive. You got to, the maintenance of the surround, not just your boundary fences, but you got the internal fences as well. There's a lot. It's a big property. And I don't know how she's done it. It's a massive big property. I reckon she should downsize to something like only like 5 acres is enough of land. She could have a beautiful 2-acre garden. 2-acre garden, and the rest of it just for if she wants to have 1 or 2 horses. She doesn't need to have as many horses as she's got. She doesn't need to have foals. She doesn't need to have, horses in foal breeding anymore. We're not doing the Nationals. We're not doing the Royals. Retire. Seriously. I'm 46 looking at it going, oh, God. It is a really beautiful property. It really is a beautiful property. But I lived on it for 6 years. I only lived on it for 6 years. Although I did stay back there 1 year in 1999. So 7 years I lived on it. For 7 years. And it's a very beautiful property. But you never saw, you walk out the family room into the entertainment room, into the swimming pool area, where you've got the cabana area. And that's where you'd find me. You had to go down to the stables. You walk out a very small sort of strip footpath area down to the stables. It's a concrete stables with stables and wash bays and feed shed all under concrete, just to saddle the horse up and go riding. You wouldn't see me walking in the paddocks. I wouldn't know. I'm not going. You'd only see me down if I'm working a horse down the far paddock or in the front paddocks or so forth. I'm not going down there for a walk unless Mum made me once when I wanted to have a birthday party. We had the pool table and everything. She goes, no, you're not having it inside. I'm not cleaning up after you and your friends. You can go put a tent down the back. Bitch. She tells everybody that, oh, Justin loved it. He put the tent up. I said, fuck off. What? I love that. I would have, all my friends came over to use the swim pool and play on the pool table, and you kicked us out of the house. Yeah? I had guests over. She did. I remember this too. It was a time when she had guests over, and she's like, no, you're not having a birthday party inside. That's it. If you've got a birthday party, you can have it out the back. So inside you've got the pool table, off the main area with the pool table. You've got the entertainment area. You've got the swimming pool, the in-ground saltwater swimming pool. You've got all the little courtyards, and it's great to have it inside. No, I'm not cleaning up after you. So that's the truth. Was no, and she had guests over as well. So I'm not cleaning up after you. Have it down the back. It's like great because all my friends came over to use the swimming pool and play the pool table, but we're gonna have it out the back. Yay. That's the only time. She tells a different story going, oh, Justin loved it. No, he didn't. No, I didn't, Carolyn. You know I didn't. All my friends came over so we could spend all night blasting music, playing pool on the pool table, and swimming in the swimming pool. And you were being a bitch. So I was like, great. So we've got this big house, massive big house with, games room and swimming pool, and we couldn't use it. Thank you very much. Anyway, oh God, I miss it. Oh look, she'll still be able to buy something just as big. Like when she sells all that land off, she'll be able to buy something just as big as the house she's got with a swimming pool, but on smaller acreage. That's all she needs to do. But look, when I say if I don't trust her, yeah, we'll trust it. Look, my trust has been burnt the last 9 years. It doesn't mean I don't like my mum or hate her. It means that there is things. There we go. That's Dad's side. Mum's side looks different. Anyway, it just means that there's things that have gone on that she's, anyway. So, oops. Funny, was on the phone. Oh, I can't put this up. No, it won't sit up there. She's talking about Kate Ware. I can't believe this. I'll put this out there. I don't care what people think about me. But Kate Ware owned a Vault Cafe. God, it was like when she was with her husband. I adored her husband. I haven't seen him for years, but God, I haven't seen him for, hang on. I haven't seen her husband for 25 years. There we go. Oh, shit. I have not seen Kate Ware or her husband for 25 years. The Vault Cafe, amazing cafe. When I say cafe, more of a restaurant with a bar and all different microbrewery beers on tap. It was stunning. Anyway, so she was lovely. Kate Ware and her brother. I adored Kate. She said something about my sister because of my sister's ex-husband. I can't believe Kate did that. Honestly, I don't know. If she said anything nasty or not, maybe they were just having hissy fits like women do, squawking in a chick pen. But I hope not, because Kate, Mandy used to adore Kate, yeah? And Gummy, her brother. Anyway. Nice. And we'll talk the Mansfields. Something near Mum's used to be great. Oh, the guys that own Ashby on Ebsworth. Nice hotel. Still before the powerhouse. Ashby on Ebsworth, they used to do really good buffalo. Let me look that up and see if they still got it there. Ashby on Ebsworth. So I've had buffalo. Oh, you have buffalo steak. Why would you want anything else? Oh, seriously. It was beautiful. Like, lean protein. Oh, like we get nothing in Sydney. Like really, in Sydney, where I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's changed from when there used to be people with money lived in Sydney. It feels so plebetarian and dirty. Yeah, I know it does. Like it's different because I grew up in Sydney and I've got heritage here. But it doesn't matter what area you're in Sydney. It's like it's just so dirty and low life. Doesn't matter where you live. It's the same dirty low life plebetarians. That's Sydney. Doesn't matter where you try and find decent. I don't know. That's how I feel. That's how I felt for a long time. But it's where I need to be. And I don't like. I need the city anyway. Oh look, saying that, and I need the ocean. I was about to say something. I was like, hang on a minute. No, the fucking ocean. But anyway. No, because I was about to say, oh, hang on, I love the apartment I had in 1997. I had the most amazing apartment in 1997. I was almost about to say, oh, if I had an apartment back like I had at Macquarie Gardens. I was like, wait a minute. No, because I remember what you were like. I kept complaining I missed the ocean. Although we did used to go to the ski gardens at Lake Keepit. So, You got salt water up there as well. So, no fresh water ski gardens, wasn't it? Anyway, Lake Keepit does ski gardens. Mum was talking about, as soon as she goes, oh, Grant Biffin, I was like, oh, Grant. I haven't seen Grant since we took his parents' yacht out. Oh, you see? I miss all that. That's back when Grant was with Natasha Second. And we took his parents' yacht out to the ski gardens. Oh my God. See, every time I think about the lifestyle that I've had when I was younger and I look at what I've just had to experience for the last 20 years, I don't know how I did it. If I wasn't working, this is what the problem. As soon as I stopped working after I was mugged November 30th, 2007, everything stopped and I'm like, oh my God. Because literally I'm only really working 7 days a week. I'm here for that because there's no life here. Like, what do you have? Like when I was a teenager, and literally that's when it started thinking, it's like, wow, when I was a teenager, going up to Lake Keepit for, it's water skiing. So it's not ski as in snow, and it's water skiing. Going up to the ski gardens in Lake Keepit. Grant Biffin's parents had a yacht, go and take their yacht out. What do we have here? It's pleb. It's so, oh my God, it's so low life. Doesn't matter where you live in Sydney, and the people that they live in these great areas of Sydney, it's but you still live in a shithole. It doesn't matter. It's so overpopulated with third world nationalities now that you don't have any quality here. There's no quality. It's overpriced. There's nothing here of quality of life. Maybe the mega multi-billionaires do, but, as a teenager, seriously, I had, Christ, my neighbours all had BMWs, they had money, they had Mercedes, they had Land Rovers. Not people I socialise with. That's the other thing. That's the other thing where Mum socialises with other people that I wouldn't. But that's the other thing where we'll click. I don't like people that she socialises with. But yeah, even Ben Dunn had I remember his BMW. I said in other videos as well, I used to bitch about my mum at the powerhouse. Or was it me? Mrs. Dunn just used to start it because this is what it was like. I'll be at the powerhouse, Mrs. Dunn would call me over. She's like, oh God, I remember this. 1999, okay? Mrs. Dunn calls me over. She goes, Justin, that Dave that's been hanging around your mum's place. I'm like, yeah, the farmhand, yeah. I think your mother's with him. They were all talking. They talk. Oh, God, I love it. I'm like, no. I remember Amanda was at Armidale University. Because I remember when she came down from Armidale University, she's like, Mum's not going out with Dave, is she? I'm like, I don't think so. He's just paid as a farmhand. He's paid to do the fences. Oh, shit, Dave. Oh, I can't believe that's her property. You see? I don't know why she did that. I don't know why she went out with him. That was another rebound, I think. I think Mum has issues with guys that she's attracted to. So, yeah. Anyway, Mrs. Dunn goes, and because they're all talking in Mum's street about it. I'm like, no, because he was just getting paid. He had to do some welding work, and he was redoing the fences, redoing the round yard, and the stables. He's paid. He's a worker. He's not, Mum wouldn't go out with him. She went out with him. I was mortified. Amanda was mortified. A half-sister, she didn't care less, but then she's from a different father. So I don't think it would have affected Faith like it does affected Amanda and myself. Different. But I was mortified. I remember when Amanda came down from Armidale University, and she's like, is Mum going out with him? I was like, don't think so. The next minute it was talk of it. She was going out with him. It's like, oh my God. And I remember this too. Mum's like, oh, Justin, you don't like him because you think he's got no money, but he owns all of this. I'm like, Carol, that's not it. Money doesn't buy a class, because you can be somebody like Melanie Tiberi, who's come into money and they're not, without being nasty, they've come into money because of Kathy Tiberi's, husband. But they're from Vegemite Village. And that money doesn't buy class. That's what you don't understand. All the money in the world is not going to make Dave change. You either have it or you don't. And that's where you don't understand. This area is all about that. You can be old money and have nothing, and you're still going to be more respected than someone's a multi-millionaire. People with money, multi-millionaires, come and go. It doesn't buy class. And that's what you don't understand. It's not about money. It's about who you are. And she didn't get it. And I remember you used to go into the powerhouse and here's one. Mrs. Dunn said, "Oh, Justin, the letterboxes, someone smashed into them." It was Dave. So he probably, he's like I remember sitting there with Mrs. Dunn going, "Well, you remember my stepfather?" She's like, they're like, "Oh, yes. Yeah, well, he's a worse version of my stepfather." So I don't know what happened to my mum's mind where she thinks it's okay that people like that, and that's where we will have issues. Mum brought up Paul and Karen O'Brien, and it's like, oh, okay, you still think it's okay to socialise with those people? Okay. Paul's nice. Okay, but you need to move on from that. Like, you've moved to different, you've got to let go of things. Yeah, when Jade died, that Paul was there. Yeah, he was. Lovely guy, but like mum was involved in nationals and royals and the hacks and so forth, and you'd be trying to talk to mum and be like, these are the people that you need to be in with. You want your horse to win at a royal? Then you need to be in with these people, Carol. Okay, you used to know Bruce Flood. Oh, he's a snob. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's a bitch. So what? Bruce Flood gets royal winners. Okay? That's what mum never understood. Your behaviour, the people you date and the people you hang around with, then there's nothing to do with money. Okay, you need to change. You want to have your hacks win at the Royals? Then this is what you've got to do. Okay, that's Helen, so Mrs. and Mr. Martin, which is Tara Martin and Alana Martin. Alana Martin's gone over to New Zealand now. Tall Alana. Well, actually, I was closer to Tara because we're both rebels. Amanda and Alana used to be in bed before 8, where Tara and myself were always hanging around with the carnies. And I'm like, there, okay, the Martins, they still keep up appearances. They don't do the horses anymore. Mr. Martin, Alan Martin can't ride, but you'll see them at the Magic Millions. The yearling sales. You want to go and be around the people that actually are bidding $1 million on a yearling. You want your horses to win. You want to get up there. This is years like you want to be around these people. You can't be talking to people that your sister Robin Childs talks with. Those days are gone. Where you grew up in the suburbs of Sydney and the people you socialise with, you need to cut that. My mother doesn't understand that you have to cut people out of your life and move forward. You can know them once, but you need to better yourself. I've learned this my entire life. As soon as I find somebody hasn't gotten anywhere, or for myself, I was mugged after work. I can't help that. I'm in a situation not because of anything I've done. I don't do drugs, alcohol, anything like this. It was not because I'm lazy and didn't work. I'm in the situation I'm in because I had injuries and health conditions after work. Oh my God, I want my job back so badly in Star Casino. And I'll be working 7 days a week. I want a good doctor that will keep me be able to work. I want a doctor that will say, fuck chronic fatigue. We're going to get you on this every month and make sure you don't have any chronic fatigue. We're going to make sure you want to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. We're going to do this. That's what I want. That's what I want as a doctor. Not what I've got. If I stand there and say my muscles are burning, my joints are killing me, I can hardly walk, you give me what I need to keep working. That's what I want as a good doctor. Not the shit that I've got at the moment. So where my mum doesn't understand is, it's so easy to cut people. For me, it's like, okay, you've got to stick with the class that you're moving up to. You're at national levels, you're at royal levels. We used to ride the horses around Moore Park. You need to move forward. You can't be hanging around people like Karen and Paul O'Brien. You can't be hanging around Jeff Burgess. You can't be hanging around these low-life people that, we knew them as kids. So what, Carol? So what? They're more your sister Robin Childs. Low-life. That's who they are. They're your drunken sister. Do you want to be Robin Childs or do you want to be Carol Purdy? This is something that goes back to when we were teenagers, when Mum used to have these hissy fits and get jealous of Sis, which is Robin Childs. And she used to be really upset and be like, But you always, I'll be like this and be like her, shall I? And you always have fun. You always laugh and having fun when you're with sis. It's like, well, one, it's not my mother. One. And two, she's a drunk and we're laughing at her. The house is, like it's not, our house was extremely clean and tidy and everything had a place in it. It was like Hitler. I said, but I don't want to live like that. Oh, guys, could you imagine being dragged up like Shane and Christy Childs? Mum, that's because we're not, doesn't mean we want you to be like her. Imagine that. Imagine being dragged up like Shane and Christy Childs. How mortifying. Like, seriously, how mortifying. Their life was, like, to me, I look at it as like, that's so disgusting. Like, they used to, Shane and Christy Childs and Robin Childs used to hang around Paul and Karen O'Brien. And my grandparents couldn't stand it. And it had nothing to do with them being Aboriginal. It had everything to do with, well, actually, Nan brought up to me in the year 2000 about Karen's mother, Sue. And Nan said, well, my nana, Lola, and myself had transparency and said, Justin, Nan, actually it was just after I had to drop Christy to Stratford train station, and both my grandparents, oh my God, oh Christ, this day, my God, it was like this. One ear in the ear, next minute Reg will be up in the kitchen and come sit back down, and Nan's up the hallway this direction and coming back down. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like I wanted out of you and Amanda, and that's what it was like. I don't want you affiliating, you lot, you and Amanda, because Shane and Christy are bad news. They like their mother. I'm telling you now, I had high hopes for your mother until she married Mark Rackley. I don't want you guys turning out bad like them. He didn't. I don't give a shit what Christy Childs wants to say. Pop actually never liked her. Amanda was Pop's favourite. And was. I think what Pop saw in Amanda was Big Nan and Julia. What Pop saw in Mum was Big Nan and Julia. Pop always wanted his wife in his daughter. He wanted Lola. He wanted somebody that went to finishing school. That was a proper lady. That's what he wanted out of his daughters. And, he didn't think much of Shane. And he didn't. So, and I'm different. Like, I don't care for wildlife. I don't care for hunting, shooting, animals, reptiles, anything like this. And Pop didn't care. I had the same other interests with Pop. Hey, I used to go to West Point and have coffee with Pop, which we did. We used to go and have coffee. Downstairs. There was a little coffee place down on the other side of the escalator. So, yep. So what else? Oh, that day. Oh, that's right, Sue. Nan said to me, Karen, Paul's wife, Karen's mother, Sue, slept with my son, Justin, slept with Denny. And Sue's my age. What's she doing sleeping with my son? And that's what Nan said. So, because my grandparents were transparent with me. There was nothing hidden. It's like, oh, Nan. She goes, yeah. So I don't know. And she goes, and I'll tell you now too, when Mary Ann was in high school at Evans High, Nan never liked Karen. Karen caused that much trouble. Because I told her, I like, was it Wayne? Pig and Tracy. Wayne. Love Wayne. Love Tracy. So do I. Adore Tracy. Different. Wayne and Tracy O'Brien. But no. Karen. No, she was a rat. Justin, she was a rat. Karen O'Brien was an absolute rat. And her mother. And they caused that much trouble for Mary Ann when Mary Ann was at school. And that's what Nan said. And that was back in the year 2000. And my Nana doesn't lie. So, all right. I said, well, Paul's all right. Because, who do you reckon stopped Paul, which is Porky? Who do you think stopped Paul O'Brien, Porky, speaking with his brother, Wayne O'Brien, which is Pig? Friggin' Karen. Karen caused all that trouble. So, I didn't know. This is in the year 2000. I said, I just heard it was at Mary Ann's wedding. She goes, yeah. Karen, who Mum still talks to. I'm like, why are you talking to fucking Karen? Karen's the one that stopped them all talking. That's why they all fight. Porky hasn't spoken to his brother Pig, so Paul O'Brien hasn't spoken to his brother Wayne O'Brien since 1992. since Meriden and Richard Mihowski's wedding in bloody Quakers Hill. And that's what it was. Nan told me this in year 2000. She goes, who do you think caused it? Who do you think caused the whole argument? Karen. Oh. My grandparents used to tell me everything. Seriously, it was like an open book with them. Everything you could think of, including the fact that, I don't know what this had to do with it, but mum's sister knocked down the toilet wall at school. I have no idea where that came into conversation in year 2000, but Nan had to have something to say when Pop was browbeating me about my cousin Christy, her brother Shane, the Childs, and their mother Robin. And Nan obviously had to put, and then she wore gym boots to school. All right. And Pop was being serious. I was there. Pop was being serious, going, she ran off with Reg Childs, went off to that country, like to Bathurst, ran off with him, did this, did that, took metal work and woodwork. Then Nan comes in, she goes, oh, Reg, tell him about the time she knocked the wall down. Look at that. And she wore gym boots to school. What the fuck's that got to do with it? Jesus Christ. So, yeah. Anyway, Mum's going to stop. And I think she's too old now. She won't. But anyway. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. And that's the problem with Mum. Over the years, she's gotten more and more like Robin Childs, her sister. Which isn't... And socialise with their friends. It's like, why? Why? All your father ever wanted you to be like was, Uncle Fred, Big Nan, Julia, Lola's upbringing that he adored because Pop didn't have a good family like Lola did. And, coming to see Uncle Fred here in Bellevue Hill or going up to her cousin, which is Gary Williams. Shit, I wish I knew where Gary Williams was these days. Last time I spoke to Gary Williams at Auntie Margaret Keegan's funeral, which was in Balmain around August 2003, Gary told me he sold his grandmother's house years ago in Bellevue Hill, but he's still living in Bondi. I have no idea if he's even alive. Gary Williams, on my mum's side, Gary's my nan's cousin. When I told Nan, I said, I'm gay. And she was so excited because her favourite cousin was gay. Oh, Justin, he worked his entire life in a shoe shop in Strand Arcade, she said. All right. Then he got his inheritance. He got left his grandmother's house in Bellevue Hill. And anyway, when Nan goes, come on, like this, mate, that's Nan's bent finger, come on. When she goes and we're at the funeral, it was just past Birkenhead Point at Tessie's place. Because that's where they're all from, the inner city originally. It was past Birkenhead Point in Tessie's place. And we're out Mum was there. Because I was with Nan, my Nan was like this around my arm. And my mum was always trailing behind us. My Nana was like this. And my Nan's like this, like always like this to me. She goes, oh, Justin, don't look now. Your mother's behind us. Oh, she's got more hide than Jessie. That's what she used to say. I don't know where that saying comes from. The same with Dory Evans. Anyone that's a gossiper like Christy Childs, my name goes there, Dory Evans. Some TV show where there was a Dory Evans on it. And more hide than Jessie. And anyway, because I took Nan to the funeral. And it's like, oh, your mum's here. Oh, she's got more hide than Jessie. Anyway. So I go up to Gary because Nan's like, come here. Gary, tell Justin about your Nan's house. I loved his Nan's, like his grandmother, Annie Williams Schaulkner. Tell him. So, because Nan's like, tell him how big it was. He doesn't believe me. I'm like, I didn't say I didn't believe you. Didn't believe me, Justin. I'm like, no, I did believe you. She was like, yeah, it was massive because I couldn't look after it on my own. So I sold it and he bought a place. He said, yeah, it was a massive house. We all lived there because Dad and Tommy lived there. His grandmother lived there. Nan's grandmother lived there for a period of time, so that's where Nan used to say she used to go and visit Julia, but it was at Julia's sister's house, and that in Bellevue Hill. So that was Tommy Williams, Annie Williams, and Julia Sayer and Gary Williams lived there. And said, yeah, it was a big house in Bellevue Hill. I don't know what street it was in. Anyway, but he sold it. He was living in Bondi. I didn't even know he was alive. I mean, we're talking about, over 20 years ago is the last time I saw Gary Williams. Anyway, that's Lola's cousin on, like I said, so if you go my family tree, and you go Bridget Dufresne and Matthew Ryan, they're three daughters. So you've got Julia, which is Nan's grandmother. You've got May, which is Mad Auntie May, which is my Nan's middle name, May, so Lola May. And I said, why is... Okay, here we go. Yep, almost under an hour and 20. Mad Auntie May. Nan, why is it you call her Mad Auntie May? Because she killed all her husbands. I'm like, did she, Nan? She goes, well, Justin, I'll tell you now. They're all very rich, very old, and they all died. She poisoned them all off. She just had one husband, one rich husband. She's from Bellevue Hill too, after the other. One rich husband after the other. And that's who had Uncle Fred. It's what Mum doesn't understand. May had Uncle Fred. May Goff had Uncle Fred, and he was Frederick Goff or something around that. I could be wrong. But his name was Frederick first. And then Julia adopted him from her sister. Julia Sayer adopted Uncle Fred from her sister. And it became Leo Patrick Sayer. Anyway, that's why we call him Uncle Fred. Because his first name was Frederick. Anyway, and then you've got Annie William Shawkner. So you've got the three Ryans. You've got Julia Ryan, May Ryan, Annie Ryan. Julia Ryan becomes Julia Sayer. May Ryan, I think one of her married names was Goff. So May Goff. And the other one, Annie Ryan, became Annie William Shawkner. Annie William Shawkner had Tommy. Tommy had Gary. Julia Ryan, or Julia Sayer, had my great-grandmother, which was Mary Sayer. Mary Sayer had Lola, which is my nana. So that's how they were cousins. So that's how that family from the eastern suburbs of Sydney fit in. They were three sisters, and it was their children and their children's children. So that's how I was related to them from the Bellevue Hill side. Yeah. It all depends on who you marry, basically. So that's how I was related to that Bellevue Hill side of the family. It's Nan's cousin, my grandmother's cousin for the Bellevue Hill side. But again, that's not, like I've said to people, it's like, well, I only bring this up when it comes to me working on artwork or want to publish my great uncle's slides, because a lot of them are from Bellevue Hill. Like a lot of his photography work are from Rose Bay, because that's where my great uncle was living, and I grew up with him. I said, but I never grew up with him when he was living in Bellevue Hill. I grew up with him when he was living in Leichhardt. By the time I was born and raised, he'd moved from Bellevue Hill into Leichhardt. So, and the only one I knew from Bellevue Hill was Gary Williams, Nan's cousin. I said, but I used to drive Nan up here and drive her up to where she used to catch the tram. Oh, the tram's not there anymore, but Nan used to tell me about catching the tram from Leichhardt to Bellevue Hill, changing Bellevue Hill, then going to Bondi Beach with her grandmother. So that's the only time I bring it up when it's to do with artwork. And it's like, well, it is my family heritage and history. I never said I'm from Bellevue Hill, because I'm not. Seriously, I never denied the fact that I'm born in Blacktown. I'm born in Blacktown. Simple fact. Born in Blacktown, raised in Ruddy Hill on a horse stud, moved in April 1989 to Tamworth, New England, went to Dad's at Empire Bay, back to Sydney, then lived but growing up, Mum worked in the city, great-grandmother still at 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt, Mum's cousin still in Balmain, which is Brian. So my life's been all over. All over areas. I've experienced more of a life than most people I've, seen, that I don't get it. I talk to some people and it's like they're from other areas and it's like they're still in some area that their parents are in and their grandparents are in. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to me, because, well, my grandparents are from the inner city suburbs of Sydney, and then they went to the suburbs. And then Pop passed away in Concord Hospital in 2002, and he lived his life out in the suburbs. Then Nan moved. I don't get it. Like, you don't move. For me, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. People don't move. Like, what do you mean? You've raised kids here. Like, my mum didn't even raise us in Tamworth. Like, I went there for 6 years. I don't get. Like, it seems to be such a boring life. It's like, so. You've got no diversity with your upbringing at all. You stayed in the same area. God, I used to go from the suburbs of Sydney into Leichhardt and spend all day at 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt, at my grandmother's house. When back in those days, the suburbs of Sydney were horse studs. I used to go to sale yards in Homebush Bay where my grandfather used to sell horses. I used to ride my horse around Moore Park. Summer was spent at the holiday house at Long Beach. Yamada Beach at Long Beach. Dad's parents retired there in the early 80s. So what did you guys do? You all stay in the one area? I don't get it. Like, and that's the thing, I was talking to Mum on the phone tonight. I was like, okay, I don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, where people are like, oh, you know, I raised my kids here. And I'm like, oh, what age? What do you mean, from birth to college? You mean you stayed in the same house from birth to college? You didn't move and, like, you've got one house, but you make more money and you buy a bigger house? And you make more money and you go to something better? Like, even when I was earning more money, I'm looking at, one rental, and now I can go and afford another rental and be something better. So you just stay? I don't understand that. Like, my dad's from Parramatta. When he was with my mum, they were in Moody Hill. Then he went back to Parramatta. Then he went to Penrith. Then he went to the Blue Mountains. Then he went to where he's always wanted to be, which is Empire Bay, which is the most stunning area on the Central Coast that you're ever going to see. You've got the beach behind you, the bay in front of you. It's better than Rose Bay. Like, you know, it's the most stunning, beautiful area that you're ever going to see in your life. Empire Bay and St Herbert's Island. That's what my dad did with his life. You mean that you haven't done anything with your life? That seems, I don't know, to me, I find it weird. Like, that's where I can't comprehend people that have just not had any life to live. It's like, I don't get it. Like, okay, fair enough, my dad's been at Empire Bay as long as my mum's been in Tamworth. So they found where they've worked hard for and got something better and where they really love. Like, my dad needs to downsize, my mum needs to downsize. Both of them have massive, large houses. Dad's got a double block, which, like he even said, they'll put a house behind mine, where he's got a massive big block at Empire Bay. It's like, yeah, but you got to sell it and downsize them. You don't need all this grass to mow. You don't need all these lands. You got split level backyard into the swimming pool area. You know, you've got to downsize. You got to buy. You can buy it just as big as a house, but the land size you need smaller because you can't keep being outside when you're older. All those gardens, all that grass, all that land. Same with my mum. You got to downsize. You can have the same size house inside. The inside space is good. Outside space is a lot to work on. You got to downsize how much land you have around you. So, you know, like, that's the thing. I look at that, like, where Dad lives. See, that's the thing. If Dad sells, it's like, well, where are you going to buy it? You can't buy in St Herbert's Island. Like, you have to go out of that area. See, where Dad's is good, he's up here on the hill, on Hillcrest Road, and then you've got the bay there in front of you, which is stunning. It overlooks the island, and then behind you, you've got the beaches. So basically, you leave Dad's, you've got to do a loop up around to get back to the main road and the beach behind you. So you've got the beach behind Dad's. So you'd be laying there at Dad's. When I used to stay in the flat at Dad's off the main house, you had the gusts of wind coming from over the hill. Like, you get this sort of tunnel of the ocean. You could almost hear the waves crashing in Kilcare behind you, like this tunnel straight through and then straight off this direction too. So it was almost this surround sound of ocean around you. It was just beautiful. Actually, I might go there for Christmas Day, actually. Be nice just to be relaxed on the ocean. Actually, I might do that. Come to think of it. Bax, you want to do that Christmas Day, Dog? We'll go to Empire Bay. I think we'll do Empire Bay. Look at you, cutie. So, yeah. So basically, that's, Anyway, oh yeah, because some dickheads in Sydney thought I didn't grow up around wealthy people. Really? Because my mum's neighbours are multi-millionaires. Where did you think I grew up? Seriously. I'm not a plebetarian that grew up in housing. I just had an injury after work and it fucked me up. Like, seriously, that's all that happened with me. I had a bad injury after work I had to recover from. And while I was recovering, it cost me a fortune. So, you know, otherwise, I would still be working, earning good money, driving. Well, I wouldn't be driving, I'll fly up to mum's. I can't handle that 4 hours drive. I can't even do an hour drive these days. Yeah, I'll do an hour drive if I'm driving in the city, but I can't do long distance for an hour. I honestly can't do it. I hate it. But anyway, so I'll rather fly to mum's. It's cheap anyway. Actually, hey Google, What's the flights from Sydney to Tamworth priced at?
On the website flightcentre.com.au, they say flights from Sydney to Tamworth $207.
Oh, so it's only $207. See, you wouldn't drive up for that. You do that in fuel. You'd fly. And it's a nice flight. It's 40 minutes. That's it. You'll be up there. Time you leave Sydney Airport, you're up there. Tamworth Airport's nice. You're there. Get a car. The airport to Mum's. 40 minutes in a plane. That's it. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. Video post because I only want to do an hour and 20.